The topic of discussion that we are going to discuss right now is we are going to talk about different condition in which we will find wide split of S2 sound. Now S2 sound, what is S2 sound? It is the sound because of closure of aortic and pulmonary valve, right? It is represented as A2P2. Why? Because initially there is closure of aortic valve and then there will be closure of pulmonary valve, and the normal gap between them is how much? 30 millisecond, right? Okay, this is our what? S2 sound. And wide split of S2 sound means what? Moving what? This aortic valve. That means aortic valve will close faster, or we can say aortic valve will close faster. Okay, talking about the different condition in which there will be wide split of S2 sound, the first one that we need to know is mitral regurgitation. Now mitral regurgitation, what is this condition? Okay, in this schematic diagram, this is our what? This is our mitral valve, right? And this is our tricuspid valve. Now here mitral valve regurgitation means the blood present in left ventricle, what will happen? They will what? They will go back through what? Our mitral valve into what? Left atrium, because of which there will be less amount of blood what? Here in left ventricle there will be less amount of blood. And we know in normal condition left ventricle and this right ventricle, both they normally need to send how much? 80 ml of blood out of them. But now here, since there is mitral regurgitation, some of the blood are sent upward to left atrium. The 80 ml of blood which was needed to send out of this left ventricle will not remain right here. That means now let's suppose that about 10 ml of blood is regurgitated upside, right? As 10 ml of blood is regurgitated, the remaining blood is how much? 70 ml. As there is 70 ml only, that means now which valve is present right here? Aortic valve. The aortic valve which is present right here will close what? It will close faster, because only 70 ml need to be sent out. Before there was 80 ml. It need to be open for a long time, but now only 70 ml is needed to send out from here. So now the aortic valve, which aortic valve, what it will do is it will close what? It will close earlier. That means it will come in this side, right? It will come in this side. Okay, as it will come in this side, what will happen? There will be wide split of S2 sound. As you can see, there is wide split of sound, S2 sound. It will be more than 30. Okay, now similarly another condition is ventricular septal defect. Now in the case of ventricular septal defect, okay, let's take one example, and the example is, okay, let's suppose the same diagram we are drawing right here. Okay, the above one, these are atrium, and the below one, these are what? These are ventricles. We have got what? Pulmonary valve. We have got pulmonary valve right here and mitral valve right here. Okay, now here, since there is what is present right here? Here we have got what? Okay, we have got ventricular septal defect right here. Here is ventricular septal defect. Now here, because of ventricular septal defect, what is going on? Now blood will move in this diagram right here. Blood will move right here. As blood will move here, right here, what will happen is that the same condition, that means less blood will be present here in our which? Left ventricle, because of which the same example, as there was how many? 80 ml of blood, now only 70 ml remaining, or less amount of it remaining, because of which this aortic valve will what? It will close faster. As it will close faster, again what will happen? There will be wide gap between what? S2, wide gap between S2, and that's all. And if there will be accumulation of large amount of blood right here, what will happen? This large amount of blood which is accumulated right here, it will take a longer time. As it will take longer time, this P2 will also shift right here, right? P2 will shift right here, because of which there will be more wider what? S2. So this was our ventricular septal defect, right? It is the most common congenital heart disease. It is left ventricle to left atrium shunting. Yes, the left ventricle, this is what? This is our left ventricle, obviously, right? And this is our right ventricle shunting, and less time, as it will take less time. Okay, the same thing. Now talking about atrial septal defect. Now in this atrial septal defect, what is going on? Okay, these are our atrium right here. Now here what is going on? Because of atrial septal defect, the blood will come in this direction. As it will come in this direction, the less amount of blood will reach right here, right? In left ventricle, as less amount of blood will reach right here, the same condition again. And here the more amount of blood will reach right here. Okay, in the left side of heart, that means which side of heart? In left side of heart, in this side of heart. Okay, let's say in left side of heart, less blood. Yes, we know less blood will reach right here, and because of which exit will take less time. That means A2 closes early, wide split of S2, the same condition. Now talking about this, which? The right side. Okay, talking about this right side, what will happen? More amount of blood will reach where? Here. That means exit will take more time, and P2 closes what? Late, right? P2 closes late. So there is wide what? Wide gap between what? Our this A2 and P2. That's all. Okay, now one important thing that we need to know right here is in normal person more blood comes into a right ventricle here at the time of what? At the time of inspiration, and lesser in the case of what? Expiration. Okay, yes, in normal individual in the at the time of what? Inspiration, more blood will come into right ventricle, right? But at the time of what? Expiration, less blood will come into right ventricle. A2 does not depend upon respiration, and this is very important thing. A2 is not dependent on respiration. A2 is not dependent on respiration, but P2 is dependent on what? It keeps changing on respiration. Now, in ASD, as you have already mentioned, that in ASD, since at the time, at ASD, what we are saying, there is blood flow from what? Our this left atrium to right atrium, because of which there is right ventricular what? Right ventricle get a large amount of what? Blood. Okay. Now, as we have already said, right ventricle also get blood, large amount of blood at what time? At the time of inspiration, right? At the time of inspiration. At the time of inspiration. But at the time of expiration, right ventricle does not get right ventricle don't get a large amount of volume, because of which there could be alteration in what? Width of A2 and P2, but it does not goes like that. Why it does not goes like that? Because shunt is not operational. Shunt is not functioning, or is not operational. Shunt is not operational in phase of inspiration. Why? Because in the phase of inspiration, large amount of blood is already present right here, because of which the blood right here is also large, because of which this shunt, it will not carry blood from where? This region to this region. That means blood will not go like this in the case of inspiration, because large amount of volume of blood is already present right here. So in the case of inspiration, the shunt is not working, but in the case of expiration, since right ventricle is not having a large amount of blood, so the shunt is opening, and this right ventricle will be also contributed by the blood brought from where? This atrial septal defect. So shunt not operational in the phase of inspiration, as more blood cause equilibration of pressure between right and left atrium right here. Shunt operates only in expiration phase, right? Hence equal amount of blood present in right ventricle in inspiration and expiration. That means whether it is inspiration or whether it is expiration, right ventricle will get equal amount of what? Blood, right? So hence the P2 does not vary with respiration. That means there is constant width, right? Width between E2 and P2 in inspiration and expiration. Now here the shunt murmur is not present. Flow murmur is mid diastolic murmur, right? Flow murmur is mid diastolic murmur, and it is characteristic feature, and the investigation of choice is our what? TTE, transthoracic echocardiogram, right? It will show what? Goose neck defect, and treatment is occlusion, right? Occlusion devices. Yes, the same thing right here. Inspiration, in the time of inspiration, large amount of blood will present right here in right ventricle, and in the case of inspiration, what will happen? This is not functioning, the shunt is not functioning. But in the case of expiration, less amount of blood is present in right ventricle, but the shunt is functioning. So there is fixed split in ASD, right? Fixed width split between A2 and P2 in the case of ASD. So this was all about what? The different condition in which there is wide split S2, and about narrow split S2 we already discussed what? Patent ductus arteriosus, and also what? Aortic stenosis. So with it, I would like to end lecture on our wide split S2.